Yes. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Tectonic Shift. This is the first tech event that we are doing at Masai, and we have an amazing lineup today to basically help you out from everything that is going on, that goes on in startup and building startups, or how things shape up, and how the future leaders of our country are actually building India's ecosystem. So that's the idea of Tectonic Shift. And with me, it's more of a fanboy moment for me, and I keep on saying it to Amrish whenever I speak to him that as soon as I see Amrish or I speak to Amrish, it's more of a fanboy moment for me. So very excited to have Amrish with me. He needs no introduction. So probably the only like very few people in our country who has built two unicorns. And in 2016, I think Citrus deal was probably the biggest deal at that point of time when fintech was just shaping up in our country, and that was the biggest acquisition in the fintech industry when Citrus was acquired by PayU. So, built two unicorns and probably the biggest fintech leader in our country. And very excited to have you with us, Amrish, today. And we have our students, and we have a couple of folks in audience who wanted to basically hear your journey and also wanted to learn from it. So super excited to be speaking with you today.
Thank you very much, Pratik. And I have to tell you, I'm very happy to be here because, a couple of things, right? One, uh, as you continue to do your journey, what you realize is the impact that you can leave on somebody who's just starting their careers is one of the most things that you will ever do in your life. So, uh, if there are young folks out here who are looking to build large businesses, really looking to find out what they need to do next, I would love to help in any possible way. So, quite excited to be here.
Awesome, Amrish. So let's get started with some of the burning questions that I have, which I always wanted to speak to you about, but never got an opportunity to speak. So let's do it live. So
Sure.
first, very important question: that you started your career as a sales manager in Siemens. How did like starting your journey from Siemens and becoming become a unicorn maker in our country, like not one unicorn but two unicorns? How did that happen? Like,
Pratik, this is a very interesting question, and by the way, nobody prepares for these kind of questions, right? But I want to actually tell this to a larger audience. So, honestly, my parents were bankers. My father used to work for Bank of Baroda. Mother used to work for UCO Bank. I wasn't the brightest kid as some of you guys are, but what I knew for sure is that I had a very high level of confidence, and I was extremely comfortable in my own thinking process. As I finished off with engineering, I was one of those folks where I actually didn't know what I wanted to do next. I didn't know where I wanted to go, or for that matter, even what I wanted to achieve. What I knew for sure is that I wanted to build something which is massive. I had big ambitions, I had big desires to do something special. Now, coming out of college, you're always looking for your first break, you're always looking for the first starting point. And I got simply lucky coming out of a very average engineering college, getting into Siemens, getting into sales. Um, but I think what I did a little bit different than most others was I was extremely impatient. I was extremely keen to learn. I was so lucky that I had some phenomenal managers around me. And I was just like a sponge. I was listening to every word that they were saying, how they were looking at the opportunity right in front of them. And honestly, I keep saying this to many people, right? I am really a combination of all that I learned through fantastic people around me. And some of the things were deep understanding of technology, deep understanding of fintech, but some of the things were fairly simple. Like for example, um, one of the early lessons I had was I was hanging out with this manager of mine, and the manager asked me saying, "Have you completed all your activities for the day?" And I said, "Yeah, sab kuch ho gaya." And he actually rattled off three more things. He's saying, Did you do this? Did you do that? Did you do this? And I was like, no, I didn't do it. And he just said, Amrish, write down everything that you need to really work on. Now, 20 years plus, I honestly do exactly the same thing, right? Start of the day, end of the day, start of the week, end of the week. I just write down what I need to do, what I need to accomplish, what I need to finish off. But really, that's just a small example, but I can go on with number of examples that I can have there. Again, the other lucky thing is I spend my time in fintech. Like what you're doing, Pratik, in the edtech space, fintech has been evolving, and it's been evolving for the last 20 years. EdTech is going to evolve over the next 20 years, 30 years, 40 years time when you move from physical locations to digital locations. And I've just kept learning through that journey, and that's helped me every day. In that, you build great businesses, you meet great people, you work with young folks, senior folks, and that's just part of the experience that you go through.
Got it. So, Amrish, another very important question that I wanted to basically understand by hearing your journey. You said that you built that, like you always had that confidence right from the starting. That obviously, and this is one of the most important thing. You said it very lightly, but I think like this is the most important, most hardest thing to build. So, what did you do to basically build that confidence? Like there must be some moments in your journey where you saw that if I'll be able to do this, then like those kind of milestones actually help you in building that self confidence. What were like one or two of those kind of moments which help you in basically building that?
See, I'll give you my personal experience, and you will think that this I'm saying this in jest or I'm saying this lightly, but I believe it played a very big role in what I want to do. But let me talk about what others I have seen, which is very interesting, right? See, one of the things was when I went into entrepreneurship, and this was in about 2012. Entrepreneurship in those days was all about, oh, this is this person, who's come back from Harvard or MIT or Stanford, and they have actually looked at the Silicon Valley and what's happening in Silicon Valley. They could actually, understand what Elon Musk is saying, or the equivalent of what an Elon Musk in those days was saying. And entrepreneurship in those days was all about, the quote unquote foreign returned student is going to tell us what entrepreneurship is. But really, when you look at the Sachin Bansals, the Binny Bansals, and when you look at what large businesses have created here, these are very very earthy, in the soil kind of entrepreneurs that India has created. Even my co-founder Jitendra Gupta, he spent all his life in Jaipur, and he has such a smart brain, and his abilities to understand danda, nobody else can compare with him per se. And the josh with which these entrepreneurs were coming out, and coming out of their college, coming out of their first job, that was just phenomenal in the year of 2013, 2014. Today, actually, you're getting to see that you can meet these entrepreneurs, and you can see that they have unbelievable confidence in themselves. Let me give you an example. When I started off, Rahul Dravid was the great cricketer and Sachin Tendulkar was a great cricketer, right? And Rahul Dravid used to leave 7, 10 balls before he used to try and hit the first four. Abhi
Yeah.
Rishabh Pant aata hai, बोलता है, was first ball I'm going to hit a six outside the ground, right? Now
Yeah.
that is confidence. We are living in a time today that if you as an individual don't succeed with your first job, second job, or your first entrepreneurship stint or the second entrepreneurship stint, India has become a land of opportunity. So you don't have to worry about anything. So confidence get built out of all of that. Now coming to me personally, my actual confidence got built a lot on sports, and actually it got built on the backs of losing. It's not on the backs of winning. I play a lot of sport. I played a lot of sport in those days. I wasn't a great sportsman, right? But I played for Bombay University and all of that. But winning and losing told me something which says कि बॉस आज हारेंगे कल और एक गेम होगा. कल हारेंगे तो यार एक हम महीना और काम करेंगे उसके बाद और एक गेम होगा. Effectively, that's what is happening in our lives every day. There is nothing to worry about. You just have to keep believing and keep building up your confidence. So by the time I was ready to go out and do something in my quote unquote career, and reached a point where he says, boss, I'm going to become successful. There is nothing to worry about anymore.
Got it. So, Amrish, this is such a beautiful similarity or parallels that you have drawn from the life with sports. If you're playing sports and if you're continuously failing over there and you constantly believe that there is going to be a
मैं
next
थोड़ा
match.
जीता भी है, इतने भी मैं हारे नहीं, लेकिन मैं थोड़ा जीता.
Obviously, like you learn from those mistakes. So whatever we keep on reading in self-help books, I think this is all. This is something which you can draw parallel to, which is quite amazing. Cool. So another very important question, burning question that I have is that when you started Citrus, how did you know Jitendra and all the other co-founders, and like how did you guys started together Citrus journey?
Yeah, this is a very interesting one, right? So, my strengths and Jiten's strengths are actually completely different from each other. In fact, before we decided to become co-founders, we did a very massive deal where he was on the other side of the table to me. So we were buying a business from ICICI Bank, and he used to work for ICICI Bank in those days. And this was a $65 million deal. And we ended up fighting every day because everything which I wanted to do, he knew exactly what I wanted to do, and he had a completely different approach to that situation. One of the things which I tell everybody is that finding a co-founder in your entrepreneurship journey is extremely difficult. Finding a co-founder who is different to you is even more difficult, but the one which takes everything to another level is then finding a way to work with a co-founder who has a slightly different way of thinking to you. I think that is even more difficult thing to do. And honestly, I think it worked extremely well for us in Citrus. By the way, even now we tend to speak virtually every day, and this could be matters related to PineLabs, it could be matters related to Jupiter. I'm still a significant shareholder of Jupiter is one of India's best neobanks which have been built today. But we enjoy these conversations, and these conversations are not easy. I'm not the co-founder there, but conversations are not easy. But if I know that there is something where some hard news has to be given, I feel extremely comfortable in being able to do that. So interestingly, we were quite different individuals. We still are, but we found a way to work harmoniously while we are building businesses and looking at this entire space of entrepreneurship. So while you guys are thinking about entrepreneurship and what lies ahead, don't necessarily look for those people जो कॉलेज में मेरा भाई है. That's not necessarily. You need to look for somebody who is also going to give you some hard news, and you should be comfortable in being able to take that.
Correct. So I think like again, this if I draw parallel to it, as we keep on saying that startup industry in general is very difficult. The odd of being successful is something which is very difficult. And I think the thing that you said about co-founders, it's also the same kind of odds that as soon as you basically like if you want to find someone who is different from you and then someone who is on a different level altogether, so the odds of finding that person is also difficult, and I think that's why it is relatable to the startup success rate as well. Now, coming to startup success rate, you have built two unicorns and the largest, probably at that point of time, the largest acquisition in the fintech space. What are some of the three important things that are non-negotiable for you in your like while you're running a business?
I think what is non-negotiable for me is abilities to be a tech-first company is a non-negotiable. So one of the things which I'll tell every youngster, who's on this panel just now here listening in is that however tough technology might be, don't stay away from technology. The future is technology, the future is software. Like it or not, you might be the best person to talk, you might be the best person to, strategize. You have to understand technology and you have to be close to technology. By the way, I'm not actually telling anybody saying that you need to be able to code. I'm not telling you that at all. All which I'm saying is you need to understand technology. So technology has to be the underlying to everything that you do as you build your business. That's one. Second, you have to be a company which is an employees first rather than an employer first. Anybody who's ever worked with me or been in my organization, they will 100% tell you one simple thing, right? When Amrish has built businesses, the focus has been on what is the right thing for the employee, what is the right thing by every individual in the company. I actually say this, right? Anybody who wants to come and work with me in my journey, give me 4 years of your time. What I can promise you is I can promise you freedom, I can promise you space, and I can promise you abilities to express yourself. So being employee first is something which is extremely important. Third, and in that order, is the more business aspects of it, right? The business aspects of it is I actually like to do businesses in a space where there is no debate about the demand in the market. So I like to be in a space where there's demand in the market. What I don't necessarily like to do is an idea which is going to take the next 5 years to evolve. That's not an idea which I like to chase. Now, of course, because of that, I'm never going to come up with a Tesla, or I'm never going to send a rocket to Mars. Absolutely not. But what I really want to do is I want to try and solve for today, and I want to solve for a space where the consumers are really demanding for that solution. So that's something which is extremely important for me. I can go on further in terms of business and business detailing on this topic, but I would say these are the top three things which come to my mind when it comes to building up a large company. One other thing which I'll tell you is that, I mean, this whole thing around unicorn and all is really not important. I think what is important is, are you creating a business which has real value? And that's when this other part comes in, right? Getting a business off the ground is all about Josh. Building a large company is all about Hosh. So you really need to figure out that when is this company going from just pure emotions and pure excitement to become a well structured company which can last for a long period of time.
Got it. So some really, really valuable insights. I think one important thing that you have highlighted, I have not heard from many folks, which is making it employee first. That is something which is very, very important. I think if you are creating a huge value for the not just for the consumers but also for the employees, those who are sticking with you thick and thin. So that's something which is very, very important. Okay, cool. So next question that I have is, what has been your biggest learning since becoming a CEO of either PU or PineLabs? What is like that
I
one
think
big?
I think the one big learning which I have had, and I'll tell you about this, right? When I sold my company Citrus, um, I I went through a very interesting period. So I sold Citrus and we had a great exit. I never have to work again in my life. All of that, blah, 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 is all true, right? Let's keep it aside. But one of the big learnings that I had is that life is a lot about what you deliver uh, to the community, to the society, to what you set out to do. I know all of you are youngsters, who are listening in out here. You're never going to believe me in what I'm really saying out here. But over a period of time, you will really realize. And again, surely I didn't know this when I was selling my company, which was like, look, that was about 5, 6 years back. I didn't realize it, right? Only after that, I've realized that it is all about what is the impact that you leave on the industry that you operate in. What is the impact that you leave on people who are surrounding you? Pratik, don't get me wrong, right? But when you introduced me, I really don't know how to react to those kind of things. But what I do feel happy is if I can leave one or two sets of information with you in every call, I just feel I've done my job, right? And by the way, it doesn't have to be something that you take up and you actually go ahead and execute to it. But if it just makes you think about it and saying, "ठीक है यार, I've actually contributed to this person's journey." So once you become a CEO, or once you get to a position where you have an abilities to influence other people's thinking, you have to really think about what can you deliver to them, what is the impact that you can leave on them, and in general, what is the impact that you can leave on the domain or the space that you operate in.
Amazing, Amrish. So yeah, I think this is something which is very very important when it comes to running the firm as a CEO, and when everyone is looking up to you, and if you can create that marginal like small delta increase in terms of beat the impact, beat the other things, I think that is something which goes a long way.
Yeah,
Uh,
I guess you said you said something about Shark Tank, and you talked about Ranveer being here later on and all. See, one of the things that we have to be very careful about here, right? See, most people who are into this, just try and recollect, right? Recollect the faces of the people who used to come to Shark Tank and who are actually making a pitch out there. All of them were super tensed. All of them, you could feel that their stomach is like gurgling over while they are making this pitch, and they feel that their entire life is dependent on what they are speaking at that event out there. Now
Correct,
those are entrepreneurs with big dreams and big ambitions and having big expectations of what they can achieve out of it.
correct.
On the other hand, what you get to meet is you get to meet lots of founders who are so called done well for themselves, and they
Yeah,
actually think that नया बंदा आ गया पता नहीं है क्या बात कर रहा है and all of that. I mean, it's very important never to forget where you started from, where you came, and
yeah,
be respectful of the fact that these are just amazing entrepreneurs, having all the ambitions to build something which is just unique, and just respect it at every minute.
got it. So, Amrish, as we are speaking about this, now since basically the growth at PineLabs is amazing, and obviously, like PayU is also one of the biggest fintech player in the country. Wanted to understand that what is in store for fintech in India per se. Like, what do you see next 5 years, next 10 years going to look like in the fintech space for India?
So, a slightly complex answer, but I'm going to go deeper into it, right? So, what does fintech really stand for, right? According to me, it stands for five things, which is deposit taking, distribution of credit, remittances, payments, and insurance and wealth tech. So, these are largely the five areas that they operate in. Coincidentally, these are all the five areas which even banks and financial institutions are doing. So, if you look at a HDFC Bank, you look at a SBI, all of them are doing all of these five things today. What fintechs are basically doing is fintechs are compartmentalizing or componentizing each one of these, breaking it open, and then being able to deliver it to the consumer so that the consumer can actually use some of these services. So fintechs in a way are eating away from banks and financial institutions. What is also happening is banks and financial institutions are also going deeper into their shell. So what they are saying is, if I can control the money, if I can hold the money, I really don't want to do the actual job of moving money. So that's why when you have a phone pay, a Google Pay, or a Paytm, which is doing very well, what is happening is the bank is saying, let me manage the money or where the money sits. But the actual app through which payments are being moved, I'm happy to let go of that space to these fintechs. And that's happening across board as we speak. Over the next 5 to 10 years time, this piece is going to get accelerated. So fintechs are going to take out components of banking, create a differentiated experience on top of that, and then take it directly to the consumer. And this transition is a transition which will last at least for the next 30 to 40 years. So one of the things which I tell youngsters who are looking for careers and domain areas to go to is, go into such domains which have a 30, 40 years horizon and which are continue to grow over the next 30, 40 years. Fintech actually is one of them where I don't think so you will going to have a bad day, at least for the next 30 or 40 years time.
Got it. So, Amrish, slightly deviated from the question, the answer that you have given. Basically, if you'll see, there are some fads which always come into the space. There are like when we are identifying the ecosystem where we want to basically, where we see 30 years, 40 years of horizon for, and this is specifically meant for all the students or all the young professionals over the those who are over here on the call, that when they're launching their career and thinking about 30 years, 40 years, it's very easy to basically get trapped in those kind of fad which are going to be there and then probably will go away. How do you differentiate from that from an industry perspective?
I think it's very difficult because of two reasons, right? One is there are some fads which are fad considered purely because of time. What I mean by that is, and I'll give you an example. So there was this wonderful company which existed in 2008, 2009. The company was focused in mobile payments in 2008, 2009. But in 2008, 2009, smartphone generation itself had not come up. So mobile payments on a phone which is not a smartphone was extremely difficult.
Correct.
And by 2012, the company had died. And
Yeah.
2015 is when Paytm comes up and Paytm says, "Oh, I want to do in mobile payments." And that's when they come up with the app. The whole smartphone generation takes off. So in 2008, 2009, this company was a fad. That's because it was 5 years ahead of time. So there is one kind of fad which is about being a little bit early. There is another piece to it where there is a fad which generally gets eaten up with the march of technology. What I mean by that is there are going to be situations where a certain type of technology will get eaten up because there's going to be a newer technology which just lands up, and we get to see this literally every quarter today, right? Where there is a newer technology which comes up and which eats away an existing fad. Look, I don't think so. There is any easy way to figure out what is a fad and what is not a fad. What I can tell you is, and one thing which I've learned is, as an emerging careerist or an entrepreneur or whatever you might be wanting to do, is the fact that you have to keep yourself updated. You have to keep yourself looking at what is happening new. One thing which I'll tell everybody is that it's great to become a software developer, absolutely great. But what is even better is if you can be a software developer having a good understanding of the domain, because then what's going to happen is you're going to become a fintech professional rather than just a software developer. So I always tell somebody who's looking to start their careers is build a career in a certain talent, but also try and develop your expertise in one or two interesting domains.
Yeah, that's very valid, Amrish. Because I think one thing which I always believe that is lacking in be it the higher education, be it other places, is the amalgamation of skills. I think like one skill set you have, and then you need to
Absolutely.
parallel to other industries. Like for example, if I want to basically be a software engineer, but it is inclined towards EV market, I need to basically be aware of the industry, how mechanics of it works, and other things around that.
Absolutely. My son, for example, is right now doing engineering, and just 2 or 3 days back, he called me up and he said, I've got to choose between two subjects, and one of the subjects was about how to become a better software engineer. Other subject was going deeper into this whole space around AI, and he was saying, "What do you think I should be doing?" And I'm saying, "Go deeper into AI space. How do you become a better software engineer? You have all your rest of your career to do that. Right now,
Correct.
what you do is understand and pick up deep skills, and if you can, also pick up domain skills rather than just figuring out how do you become a better software engineer."
Got it. Very valid, Amrish. So, last question from my end is basically wanted to understand that what is that one piece of advice that you want to give it to people, those who are in the audience, who are thinking of starting their career or who have just started their career? What is one piece of advice that they need to look at from their career trajectory perspective?
I think one simple thing which I'm going to tell everybody who's looking to start their career is absolutely follow what I talked about, right? Being impatient, being passionate about what you want to do, and get up a domain skill, keep learning, keep growing. But while I've already made those points, one point which I will add further to that is always understand that what you do in your career always has to come second.
Hmm.
Number one has to be something else. And I'm not the one who's saying this. I'm not the one who can define you what your number one is. I can tell you what has to be a number two. And number two has to be your career. Number two has to be your business. Number two has to be your startup. Number one has to be something different. And depending upon who you are, you will find your number one. Um, I would love to give you examples of number one. I don't want to give examples because every individual is different.
Yes.
So I keep telling this to everybody, starting their career. Always treat your career as the number two priority. Don't make it number three priority. Always make it your number two priority. And be sure you have a number one priority, which is different to your career or to your business.
Got it. Amrish, if you can give an example of one or two number ones that you can think of, like not specifically from your perspective, but in general.
Look, I'll give you the most easiest one, which everybody knows. But again, that's why I'm not saying that you should make that. But in some cases, it could be your family. In some cases, it could be your country. In some cases, it could be a leisure activity like sport. There is community service which could be a number one priority. A whole host of them. Again, as I said, I don't want to tell which
Yeah.
one is it and what is your passion, but understand that your individuality is much more important than what you just do in your job life. We all work very hard in our education and in our study life, and had great careers. But what you will remember is those 4 or 5 years when you were studying very hard, the time that you spend with your friends and time that you spend in your college, that is what will last with you much more than figuring out how much marks did I get in a certain subject.
Correct. 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 Awesome. So, Amrish, I think one question that I always ask people that who inspired me to basically understand that what are their thoughts around that. So, if I'll ask you, who is your role model? And I think that people those who are starting their career and everyone should be having one role model for them. If there is right now, because you are a role model for many now, but who is your role model and who do you look up to?
I have a few of them, but the one person who stands out to me over the years is Mr. Aditya Puri, who just retired as the CEO of HDFC Bank. I don't know if you know it. He used
Yeah.
to be the CEO of Malaysia Citibank and then Southeast Asia Citibank CEO. Today it's fashionable to be on Twitter and make jokes about HDFC and its technology. But to build an institution of that size and scale in 25 years, build out the technology, give employments to that high number of people, run a company which for 25 years has not got any blemish, and have such a stellar career. I actually find that person very inspiring. The other person, obviously, is really what Elon Musk is doing at this point of time. I mean, there's going to be a time when we are all going to turn around and say that we lived in the time when Elon Musk was at his best. He's working for humanity. He's working for the environment. Wants to work for the longevity of the human race. I mean, can you imagine how big those dreams are? One of you guys hopefully will think at that scale and bring glory to our country. But look, I actually find what Elon Musk is doing absolutely special. Now, of course, don't you got to take the bad with the good also, right? He could be a pot smoking richest man in the world, but
Yeah.
hey, look, he's left an impact on humanity.
Yeah, yeah. And I was just listening to his TED talk very recently when he was speaking about what he is, how is he thinking about building the future. So yes, Amrish, it is amazing speaking to you like always, and I am pretty sure that our students and everyone who is listening to us is actually, I have taken a lot of takeaways and I was writing my notes when you were speaking about it. So I'm sure that this is something which is very very insightful for many people, those who are on the call today.
So Pratik,
Shashank,
Pratik, I'm going to make one comment out here that I'm an investor in Masai school.
Yeah.
And you know that when we spoke for the first time, I was just taken in with the cause that you are working towards. I also like the fact that just speaking with you, I felt that your personal passion is one, and then what you're building is number two. So again,
Yeah.
this is a exact example of what I was trying to tell you, right?
Yeah.
Make education your passion. Don't make your startup the number one passion. Keep your
Correct.
startup the number two passion. If you make education number one passion, everything else will fall into place.
Exactly, exactly. And I was able to basically relate to when you were saying about this, speaking about this. So yeah, it was an amazing session, and now Shashank is with us. What do you want, Shashank?
Okay. I'm glad to have this chance to talk to Amrish directly because the first time I discovered PineLabs was having those very nice places where you can enter your details for your card. And I
Yep.
wondered why are the numbers so randomly there? And that we think, oh, this is because they want to protect, uh,
Yeah. So
yes, your people,
that was a security requirement in those days.
right? Amazing. So glad to be here. Amrish,
There was a
you,
security requirement in those days.
yes. So, Amrish, one of the questions that I think you've already answered from our audience that came in was what got you to invest in Masai? Was it the passion that you saw in Pratik and team's eyes about education, or was it something else?
Look, it is always about that. It is always about that. I have literally never invested into a company where I have no passion for that business. I'm very very clear. See, the other thing which I also do is I don't like to call up my founders and ask them what they are doing, because I'm also deeply passionate about this simple concept which says that it is the founder's company. It is not your company. So your see, people in today's time take angel investing as a career. I don't take angel investing as a career. So one of the things that you have to know as an angel investor is it's the founder's company, it's the founder's vision. Nothing else can change it. If the founder needs your help, you should be available. You should not drive the founder ever. Uh, and hence, you really need to like the passion that the founder is having for what the founder is building.
Hmm. Okay, great. Another question that we have from Twitter is you mentioned about you want to focus on the problems that are in the present. So, what other key areas do you identify where a lot of problem solving and entrepreneurship and startups are required?
There are hundreds, and I'll tell you what I mean by that, right? So in India, what is happening is efficiency and efficiency improvement is an area which is of high importance. My friend Kunal keeps talking about Delta 4, where he says that Indians are time rich, where they have so much time for themselves. There's going to come to a point where Indians are going to feel extremely uncomfortable with how much time they are wasting on the most mundane stuff which is in front of them. If you can actually work to deliver time back to the Indians will love that the most. So I think there are many, many areas where efficiency improvements can come in. Now that could be in fintech, that could be in the area of commerce or area of logistics. So many opportunities across. But I think in efficiency improvement, you can any day create a billion-dollar company.
I think one of those efficiency moves in the world of fintech was eKYC. The fact that you could
Of
verify
course.
your customers changed the ball game for fintech.
See, this is what I'm saying. Today, you're turning around and saying eKYC. But 5 years back, when UPI was not there, for me move money to you, I used to give you a check, and it used to take 3 days before the money reaches you. Today, I can just simply WhatsApp the money to you, and money is with you instantly. That is an efficiency change. In 5 years' time, you're suddenly now saying, "हाँ ठीक है यार, वो तो हो गया." But that is why UPI is like a billion dollar plus multiplied by three times kind of a business opportunity.
So coming to the next question on the audience, a very relatable thing. Access to loans, especially micro loans, has become very easy. Your last venture, PineLab, PayU, they pioneered Lazy Pay. So with the things that PineLabs is doing, is PineLabs planning to venture into direct consumer facing products?
I mean, look, direct consumer facing, yes. So we have a app called Fave, which is there on the App Store right now. We haven't done a mass market launch, which is a consumer facing product. We are absolutely getting into the consumer facing product. Credit, on the other hand, is a very interesting topic for me. I think in India, credit is one of the most important things to grow consumption. So credit in India is going to become the next 20, 30 years of an opportunity. But I think credit in India is extremely difficult because the laws are yet to become strong enough. Collections is still an issue. Cost of delivery of credit and recovery of credit is still very high. But I think credit is one of the biggest opportunities in front of the entire fintech space. By the way,
Hmm.
on Lazy Pay, I have to tell you that is one of the products which I feel extremely proud of. We had actually built that in Citrus and then we grew it in PayU.
Okay, 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 okay. Interesting. So I think we are done with the questions. You have covered like a lot
Thank
of
you very much.
things. And Amrish, I think this is something that fun we wanted to do. We want to do a rapid fire of rounds where we want you to leave behind your intellectual brain and talk about something fun. So I'll be asking you 10 questions, and are you up for the idea of answering them?
Yeah, yeah, why not?
Okay. So as entrepreneurs get to be very busy, food becomes a very big thing. So what is your comfort food? Something that comforts you very much?
I think my comfort food is a regular prawn masala, which we make at home. So that is definitely my comfort food.
Okay. One animal that you're scared of?
One animal I won't say I'm scared of, but I actually find the tiger extremely fascinating. So going to all of the tiger reserves in the country, I find it a very fascinating thing to do. I've been to one. I want to be to a few others, but I just find the tiger to be extremely powerful.
Okay. One thing that you own, but you should really throw that away.
The phone, definitely the phone. I
But
mean,
pura,
it's crazy, isn't it?
yeah, it is. I mean,
But
so
I've got
using
to
the
tell you
phone.
one thing.
Mhm.
I've got to tell you one thing. More out of embarrassment than anything else. Now that I can consider myself quote unquote rich. I actually have 5 cricket bats, and all of them are brand new. And I'm at that point where I have more number of bats than runs on the board. So it's quite an embarrassment for me. So I've been spending a lot on cricket bats.
Okay, okay. So I hope you don't want to throw that away. That's why you said the phone.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
exactly.
if you enjoy movies, what was the last movie that you watched?
I'm right now into Game of Thrones. So
Ah, ah.
watching Game of Thrones, and I'm quite excited with I'm in season 3. So in fact, my Saturday afternoon is watching on Game of Thrones.
A lot of people have spent a lot of their college time watching Game of Thrones, and now you're at a better position to watch it. So, do you
Yeah.
exercise? Do you think it's worth it?
Yeah, I exercise a lot, and I don't do cardio or anything, but I play a lot of sports. So I play tennis, table tennis, cricket, and I play that at least thrice in a week.
All right, okay. And the phone that we were talking about, have you ever taken a selfie recently with someone?
I would say only with my daughter, not with anybody else right now.
Okay. If I were with you, I would have loved to take a selfie with you, saying that, hey, I've met Amrish. But that's not about me. Um, One app that you use very often on your phone.
One app which I use very often on I don't want to give you the most obvious one, which is WhatsApp. Um, Twitter, of
Twitter.
course, Twitter.
All
Yeah,
right.
I use Twitter quite a bit. So, in fact, the way I've structured it is LinkedIn is for me to let everybody know about what's happening around me. But Twitter is my space to learn from everybody else.
Hmm. Okay. And if you could, magically time travel and meet your 18-year-old version, what is that one thing that you'd want to say to him?
Play a bit more sport.
Uh, okay, lovely. I mean, I love playing sports myself. Like, I find it better than hitting the gym.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Amrish, lovely having you here. Thanks for taking out the time to talk to us. I mean, I loved one line that you said, which says, "जोश में कंपनी स्टार्ट होती है, होश में कंपनीज बनाई जाती हैं." Like, that will stay
Absolutely.
with me for a long time.
Absolutely. All the
Thanks,
best, guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate you calling me here.
Thanks, Amrish.